We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. Again, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. On the Simply G Media Network, you can go to simplygmedia.com to listen to all the shows and find out a lot of cool information. And I'm really excited. What I'm trying to do, I've been having tons of NFL players. The other sports, it seems like reality stars, different people, but the NBA is a little harder. But I think that this guy really is going to be an interesting guy to talk to, especially what he's trying to do with Rebound Magazine. So I want to welcome the program former NBA star Matt Fish. Matt, thanks for calling.
Hey, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying star.
Hey, anyone that has a career, you can't last in the NBA unless you're a good player, for sure. You got to admit that. If you have a long career compared to the average career of an NBA player, and some of them that, consider them the greatest players all in college, and they get to the pros and they can't last. So you at least found your niche there, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I tell you, it doesn't hurt being 6'11" and left-handed and a go-getter. So,
and it has to be, because a lot of times I've talked to different players that you gotta take that role when you get to the NBA. You might have been a big superstar in college, and then you have to change the way you play for that team, and hopefully stay with that team for a certain amount of time, so that you constantly need more than just 5 players to be a successful NBA team.
Well, there's no doubt about it. This world needs role players, and I definitely knew my role as a player.
Okay, so let's talk about it, Matt. Being 6'11", did you always think you wanted to be an NBA player when you grew up, when you were a kid?
No, not at all. Actually, I came from small-town Iowa, Washington, Iowa, a town of 6,000 in southeastern Iowa. And, back in the 80s, we did everything. You went out for all the sports, and you went out for all the different events that you could do. And so I was in chorus and choir and band and High Fives, which was a singing group, and I had 10 years of piano lessons under my belt. I grew up to be about 6'8", and the people around me seeing me carry the great big tri-toms in the marching band was like, why aren't you going out for basketball? So between my junior and senior year in high school, a buddy of mine who was playing varsity basketball as a freshman talked me into going to a camp. So I went out to Northern Kentucky University to a 5-star blue-chip camp and played basketball. I guess I played well enough to start receiving a few letters of interest in playing basketball at the next level. And it wasn't anything too fantastic, but heck, I just filled them all out and sent them all back.
And the difference is at 6'11" at that time, when you were playing, there weren't many 6'11", 6'9" type players. And it's interesting that you didn't have a background in basketball to be able to do this. And so you must have been pretty coordinated then, or did you develop the coordination? Because I'm 6'10", and I made the mistake of never really getting as coordinated until I became a professional wrestler. So I didn't have a huge college career, lasted 1 year, but that you must have had some good role models that said, hey, you got that body, let's teach you how to play.
And that's what it is. You can't teach somebody to be so tall. I fill out all that information, sent it back, and 10 days later they gave me a phone call from the University of North Carolina-Wilmington saying they're offering me a full-ride scholarship. And I'm like, in what? And they're like, basketball. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I come from a place where there's oceans of corn. So I go down there to Wilmington, which is really 2 miles from the ocean. They put me right on the beach, and there's an actually true ocean. So I was like, what do I sign? So I signed a Division I scholarship before I ever started a varsity game in high school.
That's amazing. So your high school career was did you even play much, or kind of explain that to us? So that you were discovered on the band, did you play any organized ball?
No. My junior year, I played some junior varsity, and I was, uncoordinated, and we had a very successful senior squad ahead of me. They went 25-0. They went undefeated. They didn't lose a game. So I stepped in my senior year with already a scholarship under my belt, which was rare, and the head coach almost had to play me. And he did so, and we went 20-5 my senior year, and we got third in state. And I did set a record for rebounds at my high school that still holds. And I don't know, it kind of went on from there. I went on to college after that.
So I don't think there's many NBA players that have a story that I played pretty much just 1 year of organized basketball before going to college. So when you got there to UNC Wilmington, were you coordinated at that point in time, or were you a big time project for this university?
I was a project. I didn't even really understand what it took. And so they brought me in there early in August, and they started working me out hardcore. And I realized that if I took it to the rack or if I took the ball this hard, it might not work. I'm going to have to take it this much more harder to the basket. So I learned, and I quickly learned. I mean, I'm a student. So I learned and I learned, and I learned at a high level. So I didn't have really bad habits. I didn't take the ball down too low so that it was the height of the guards and keep the ball high. And my footwork was pretty good, and I was in some dancing stuff in high school too, so my footwork wasn't too bad. And I had a really good coach, so that helps too.
A good coach that can coach big men, because as we know, Matt, if you don't have a good big man coach, you're not going to be successful playing in this game because there's so many nuances to playing that post position.
I didn't even realize how good of a coach I had my junior and senior year is Kevin Eastman. Now, Kevin Eastman is a top assistant now for the Los Angeles Clippers. So he's a heck of a coach, and he's gotten to the pro ranks, and now I realize after the fact that how good of a coach he is.
And that, definitely. And you were very successful at UNC Wilmington. After you started learning how to play the game, you did pretty good to get NBA interest, didn't you?
Yeah, and even my senior year in college, I didn't think that I was going to really play at the next level. I just did what I was supposed to do. I ended up getting first team all conference, and I got 20 points and 10 rebounds, and got the MVP, and got the Thomas V. Mosley Most Outstanding Athlete at the university. So out of all sports, I got the number one honor you could get. And next thing you know, I get drafted to the NBA.
And so that's interesting. Even in your senior year, you're saying, okay, and I could see that, especially sports not being your huge thing, academics were very important for you in college as well, because you had to come up with a game plan afterwards, not thinking, hey, I'm going to make a living in this sport.
Yeah, I knew I certainly wanted to get my degree. I just didn't think that playing basketball was going to be my forte even after college. And, it kind of sort of fell in my lap, and I kind of feel sorry or feel guilty sometimes when some people, their whole lives are just, I want to make it to the college, I want to make it to the pros, and it kind of fell into my lap.
And it seems like that always happens with big guys, because of the big guys, you can't grow them on trees, even though we're seeing bigger and bigger and bigger guys every 10 years. And there's more and more 6'10", 6'11" sometimes. And now we're hearing 7'4", but at that time, a little different story. So, and then you said left-handed, that's another key component. So once you graduated from UNC Wilmington, you got drafted by whom?
I got drafted to the Golden State Warriors. I was a second-round draft pick. Latrell Sprewell was the first-round draft pick to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, yeah, I was a big fan of Spree, especially with that Golden State team. So you played under Don Nelson as well, Matt?
Yeah, I did. You know what? They wanted me to go overseas. I went over there. It didn't work out. I came back, kind of pressed the envelope. They said, hey, no room in the end. So they sent me on my journey to the CBA. But later in life, Don Nelson called me up to the New York Knicks.
Oh, wow. So basically, you played how many years in the NBA? So you went to Golden State, and where did you go after that? To the CBA, or did you...
Well, yeah, I was a CBA guy. You know what? I played 10 years pro ball. I ended up getting 3 in the NBA. I had 5 in the CBA. I won a championship in the CBA. I was an all-star player in the CBA. I was the number 1 center every year there. And I kept getting that wonderful taste of coffee going to the next level, and it tasted good.
And then right when your career was over, you said you made one more trip to the NBA then, correct?
Yes, I was in and out, back and forth. I played a little bit overseas when it got later in my career, knowing that the writing was on the wall. Chances of getting back probably weren't there. So I went and played in places like China against Yao Ming, and played over in Poland for a little bit in Warsaw, and wherever I could get a job. And then I ended up getting back to an ABA team here in the United States. Really frustrated, and I just got really fed up. And just basically was frustrated with my career and walked away. And then kind of here comes depression. What do I do now? So I went through all that like a lot of former players do. And so, that was something to deal with as well.
Yeah, definitely. And through that process, again, because you started to really, basketball became such a part of your life compared to what it was before. And then what do I do after basketball? Because you got to travel the world, you got to play against the amazing players, you got to do all these different things, and then bam, it's time for a new career. And that's hard, right? Life after for a professional athlete.
Yeah, man. And it happens to all of us. And I didn't realize I was one of these guys who, I'll play forever. And, I just had that mentality of it's not going to happen to me. And then I'm out and no longer on the pedestal and no longer, the crowds are quiet. And, you're really looking for something to fulfill your life. You're just kind of lost and it's just kind of, what do I do now? And, so I tried to do several different things, and some didn't work out, and some did. So I knew this much education was important, and I went back and got my education furthered, so that helped.
Okay, tell us, our audience, a little bit about that. Where did you, after your degree at UNC Wilmington, where'd you go then?
Well, I had a degree in communications, so I had a bachelor in communications there at UNC Wilmington. And then after 10 years of pro basketball, I went back to the University of Phoenix, got a master's in business, also earned a master's in education, and then got a bachelor's, and I'm highly qualified in special education.
Oh wow! So you're a teacher just like myself. That's pretty interesting. So once your career's over and you get these different degrees, what types of jobs have you had since during life after basketball?
Well, I started working with Patterson Sports Venture. Steve Patterson, who passed away, was a former NBA player, and he was out in the community making a difference. So I was a character coach, and I created a curriculum that taught character through the character code, which were words from John Wooden's Pyramid of Success. So we marketed it through the ASU women's basketball team, and I go around and put on assemblies for 3rd to 6th graders all around the Valley of the Sun, which I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. So that was one thing I did. Then I went on to life skills, self-contained special education, and did that for 3 years, in where the students taught me much more than I taught them.
You were the world's tallest teacher, right?
Yeah, so it's so funny. They a lot of the people in my classroom didn't have a father figure, and I felt like I filled that role. And being, quote unquote, bigger than life, I think helped in that realm.
Quite interesting. I thought I was the world's largest teacher. Now I find out you were. So, it's so interesting the kind of difference you can make in the classroom. But going through these life experiences of helping others and doing things, that leads you even more. Is it always kind of like, because you were stuck into a professional career and constantly going from one team to the other, traveling, different things, then you finally are trying to figure out who you are. How did you find out this is what Matt really wants to do? This is what Matt Fish wants to do. You did some of the special ed teaching. You did some of these curriculums. You're involved in the education thing. Then what led you into the next path in your life?
Well, I enjoyed teaching and giving back, and I really liked doing what I did. And my mother and my grandmother and my sister are all teachers and have taught throughout their career. So teaching, I know how to do. But I know I also felt a bit limited in the classroom, reaching my 15 to 20 students. And I really wanted to put it on a level of, let's see how we can help on a grander scale. So, that was my next goal then, is how can I make a bigger difference? How can I mentor? How can I teach? How can I help? How can I assist? And so that's what kind of led me into the next career.
And so let's talk about that, and then we're going to take a quick break. So where are you at that? Your next career is, we're going to talk about Rebound Magazine, but involving education, where did you go?
Well, as far as education is concerned, I'm going through a program right now, a founding program through a company that is a transition helping athletes and Olympians, former pro athletes and Olympians. And so I'm going through a process of learning how they mentor. And I look forward to completing that process and then having a caseload of former pro athletes and Olympians and mentoring them.
Wow. So a coach in certain ways. So when we get back, I'm learning so much about Matt now. First of all, thinking, okay, we're going to talk about Rebound Magazine, and we're just going to talk about this career in the NBA and everything. But you really have some of the things I have in a way, because again, a former professional athlete, not to the level that you were, but I became an educator and saw that that's my passion, to help others, and through that passion led me to different things, and then led me back to where I was at the beginning before an educator. So it's a very strange path that in life's lessons and how we learn to teach others. So I'm talking to Matt Fish, former NBA player, owner of Rebound Magazine, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. Again, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor. Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley. Also on the Simply G Media Network, simplyg.com. And I'm with Matt Fish, and I didn't know this, and Harvey didn't tell me all about this, and this is the interesting thing, that you are an educator, you're a teacher, and then looking at mentoring former athletes and Olympians, and I think that that's definitely a missing thing, because you had that hole in your heart when you decided to give it up. How am I going to transition? And when you hear the horror stories of Olympians and professional athletes that blow everything and never use what they did on the floor or in the pool or wherever, and take it to the next level in life and to be able to be good members of society and successful, you saw that there was definitely something to fill out there, that was something that people needed.
Well, there's no doubt a need, and I foresaw that. The worst thing to do would be to go through life and not learn from, what you've gone through yourself. And I truly went through, a couple, 3 years of depression, and I'd never even heard of an organization called the National Basketball Retired Players Association, but got involved with them, got so involved that now I'm the president of the Phoenix chapter. It's a 501c3 where we go out and make a difference in the community, as well as transitioning athletes from the days of the ball bouncing into the days where they're no longer bouncing.
That's really, really cool. And then, so the mentorship thing, is that the newest thing where you're working with athletes and Olympians? That's about to start, right?
Yes, but it's always been something that I've been trying to figure out what's the best organization to go with, and I've gotten on board with Rembrandt Sports, and that's Trilogy, so it's an offset of Rembrandt Sports, and they're looking for founding members, and the founding members that go through this program and help them, that you would have to be a successful former professional athlete, then now I'm learning their system as I go through to find how to help those that are in need of transition, help with programs, help with systems, help with sending them in the direction where they're wherever they need help. So again, I'm just learning it. I have another call Thursday. So I'm going through the process, but I know worst case scenario at least will help me. So I also want to promote them through Rebound Magazine.
Oh, and so definite good transition, Matt, but I have more questions. As you can see, I'm the definite follow-up question kind of person, because I definitely want to help you in that path. And if any of your athletes that you work with want to share, they're welcome to come on the show, because, again, I do work with an NFL group called Insightful Player that has players that have gone through something like you've gone through, Matt, in the NBA, is kind of life after sports, or going through hardships or difficulties and transitioning and being successful in life, through alcoholism, all these things. It's really sad to see and to hear about these stories about people that blew it all. There was a conversation on a sports radio show today saying that a lot of these professional athletes, they're broke after they leave 5 years later, and that the money's much better than it was when we're talking about some of those athletes in the 70s and 80s, and you're like, why? What happens to them? Why can't they transition their lives off the court or off the field? What do you think the reason is? You went through this.
Oh, man, I didn't make millions of dollars, so I didn't have it to lose. But at the same time, there are many out there that I've seen around me do just that. And I think a lot of it has to do with just there's a lack of financial literacy. When I was teaching special education, I would teach them the simpleness of, budgeting and whatever else have you. And I'm thinking, not only do the kids, that I'm teaching need this, every student in high school needs this. Hold up. Every single person, every athlete especially, who can be taken advantage of, who doesn't know money, needs to learn the basics and the fundamentals of money and franchising and the people around you, and surrounding yourself with good people. And that's just part of it. They just, you roll on this high. You have your posse with you around you. They bring you down a path of, well, this looks like a lot more fun than that, so let's do this. Your decisions just aren't made the right way. So it's a matter of, really getting to them younger is the way I see it. and really teach them at a younger age, and then really, taking the generation gaps and really trying to, try to figure out a way to how do we connect all these people. We've got those that know, like my age and older. They're mentoring me, and I'm mentoring younger. And I'm in my mid-40s. So, it goes all the way down to junior high, and, there's just even lower, or younger. So it really needs to start, and it starts, I think, all the way through, but you need to get them younger. But I know people my age have a lot to teach those that are younger than I, because, we've been there, and we've seen it happen around us. So it's a matter of giving back.
That's so true, and giving back and to see how you can help others through your mistakes and your difficulties in so many things. And I think that, again, we have to look at all these professional athletes and say there has to be someone to mentor them afterwards, because we see successful NFL players that go through this route, but yet they might go through it, but yet we don't know how the rest of their lives are in turmoil. They might get a job as a play-by-play guy or, a color commentator, or they might cover a certain thing, but we don't know what their life skills are about. Making half the money they're making, or what, the relationships with their wife or girlfriend, or relationships with their children. These things are so important, and a lot of times you're constantly traveling. Matt, the NBA and all those leagues were so much travel that you're away from your family and friends and everybody, that once you get back to, hey, I'm here on a daily basis, it's hard. It's got to be challenging.
Yeah, and I always equate it. Here I am, traveling around China or traveling around the United States, or, you're going to these great places, and then all of a sudden, it all kind of ends, and you find yourself at home cleaning the cat box. And you're like, what happened?
Yes.
It just kind of hits you upside the head, But if you're grounded, like I feel like I am, being from, Iowa, I'm really happy with the way I grew up. I have a great family. I have a great support system around me. So, I have a lot more than others might not. So what do I do? Well, then I have to find a way to give back to those who don't have what I have, so that's just really my sole purpose right now.
Okay, so why Rebound Magazine? And I guess now I'm understanding what Rebound Magazine is based on your story. Because I checked it out and saw, you're interviewing former NBA players and current NBA players and all these different things, but Rebound is more a way of life and away from difficulty. So the people that you're talking to in your magazine have had challenges in their lives then, for sure.
Well, I know that I've created Rebound with the idea that it can be a resource for the players to go to and find, where they can go to and find help. So really, it's a place to accumulate all of the different opportunities and things that are out there to help you in the various needs that you will have. I'm ramping up my website right now, so it can be a place to go as well. I'm also, since I have created this stage, to get the stories of the former NBA players, ABA players, Harlem Globetrotter players, and we've just added the WNBA players. I'm putting together a Rebound internet TV show where they can come and tell their story, tell their journey, promote what they're doing, and mentor those who are younger than them. So that is the next step to my endeavors.
Well, Matt, it's kind of like I met the person in NBA as I met Chrissy Carew, the insightful player with the NFL. You're doing exactly the same thing in a different area and format, and I hope that my radio network can be a great way to promote it as well through all my syndication, to have some of these athletes on with you, and we could talk to them about those, so you have another platform as well to get the word out for what you're doing, because it's tremendous.
Well, thank you, Neil, and it's a labor of love. I'm not getting paid well at all now. I just put all my efforts into it. And my wife, thank goodness, is a director for United Healthcare. She's looking down her nose at me going, when are you going to do something, in a laughing matter? But so, she knows I'm determined, and she knows I'm dedicated, and she believes in me. I have been with her for 20 years. So, I want to make it 20 more, so I better get to going.
and the key thing is then looking at the business plan and what to do. One of the things I had a conversation with one of my business coaches was celebrities. Why do people want to hear about celebrities' stories? Because they want to know how they relate to them and that they were role models. They want to know what's going on with them, but also the challenges they've gone through. Because we all know if we're coaching just average, ordinary people, They're going through the same challenges that you're going through. They're going the same challenges as a superstar celebrity on the silver screen or on the court or whatever. But if we can provide them that opportunity to say that they're not just alone, they're not alone, that everyone goes through these trials and tribulations, you're doing a great thing, and I'm glad your wife is supporting you through that venture for sure. So who have been some of the people you've talked to so far for your magazine that our listeners have?
Well, I've featured quite a few different. Most recently, some of the interviews I've done have been with Dan Marley, Eddie Johnson. I have done some of the older gentlemen as well. I like interviewing the older gentlemen because they have more of a story to tell. They can talk about another 20 years of life that, a younger fellow that might not be able to talk about. And I feature various people and what they're doing. Most recently, I did Alton Lister because Alton Lister is working for a university out of San Diego that is giving free education to former professional athletes who want to take it. It's an online opportunity. So I put him on the front of my magazine, my last issue, and it featured him on the inside. And I'm going to follow up with everything he's doing, obviously, with this university. So, if people have things that they're doing to make a difference, then I try to make sure to bring those out. But I also realize that everyone has a story. So I'm not going after, the big things. I'm going after everybody. Because I was a journeyman. People might not remember who I am, but I have a story. So everyone has that opportunity to tell their story.
Exactly, and that's great. And they need that because then you're going to find those other players. They're going to pick up that magazine. They're going to read it and say, oh, my gosh, I'm going through the same thing that NBA player went through 30 years ago. Or, wow, I never thought that it would be so difficult to transition. And you're becoming that resource for the NBA. And I see that you're kind of searching your not just the NBA now. You're looking at other athletes and stuff through your mentoring. So you're doing some tremendous things, Matt, and whatever way I can help you out, I'm willing to definitely welcome you on the show with some of your people you've interviewed for them to share out my national audience and international audience to get this word out, help you through all our social media that we have and things to really get this out because you're doing a tremendous thing. As I talked about what Chrissy Carew is doing with Insightful Player, you're doing with Rebound Magazine. So where can we find information on you, Matt?
Well, you can find me at Matt Fish, MattFish, at reboundmagazine.com. So that's the easiest way to reach out to me. And, with all the various places that I'm involved with, there's a lot of opportunities. And just try me out, and we'll see if I can make a connection. I've continued to strive forward to help this organization, help the NBA. Seems like a lot of times when you're done with the NBA, they're through kicking your tires and you're out the door. So I'm really trying to endear us as to gather as a group and help each other out. Because we can all get together. We can open a lot of doors, and we just need to know when we get those doors open. So I want to empower people to have an understanding of once that door is open, how can you make that difference? Everyone has something to give.
Absolutely, Matt. Well, thanks for calling, and stay on the line. I want to talk to you for a couple minutes before I head out to my next appointment. I appreciate you taking the time, and really, your story, I told you, by interviewing you in the first segment, I found out who you truly are, and it's led me to the second story of why Rebound Magazine and why are you looking to give back. And as an educator, just like myself, I see that as the key driving force, but we have to tackle many areas of life, not just the classroom, and we could take that classroom experience to the classroom of life. So thanks for calling, Matt.
Neil, I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. Take care. All right, you're listening to Told Education Celebrity Show on the Told Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.